Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good evening, folks. How's the weather? Is it still snowing? I'm sorry. Not that it's my fault, but I'm sorry. All right. Laura Lee, if you would please call the roll.
Paul Banks.
Here.
Stu Boyd.
Here.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Here.
Don Kirk.
Here.
Barbara Cruz.
Here.
Mark Setter.
Here.
Thank you. And Mark, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Barb, if you would read the mission statement, please.
The Thompson School District will be a school district that empowers, challenges, and inspires students, faculty, staff, parents, school leaders, and community members to learn, achieve, and excel.
Thank you. Next up is the adoption of the agenda for tonight. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
So we got a motion from Stu and a second from Mark to approve tonight's agenda. Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, if you would call the roll, please.
Paul Banks.
Aye.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Mark Setter.
Aye.
And that is unanimously adopted. Thank you. Next is approval of minutes. We'll take them up separately. First is item 3.1, approval of special meeting minutes from November 6th, 2019. And I will take a motion on those.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
So Don moved and Barb seconded to approve the minutes from November 6th. Are there any corrections, changes, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll.
Paul Banks.
Aye.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Mark Setter.
Aye.
Thank you, and those are unanimously approved as well. Next is the minutes, approval of the minutes from the regular portion of the November 6th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on November 6th. Any changes, additions, corrections? Did you get the motion makers on that? Because I missed it, okay. Okay, hearing none, Laura Lee, if you'd call.
Paul Banks.
Aye.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Mark Setter.
Aye.
Thank you, and those are unanimously approved as well. Moves us into section 4, which is the public participation portion of tonight's meeting. And first up is Dr. Schaefer with the superintendent's report.
Evening, Madam President, members of the school board. As has become custom for the second meeting of each month, I do just a visual pictography of some of the things that are occurring in our district, and so you can follow along with the pictures as I read the narrative. So our first slide is the Thompson Career Campus. After the groundbreaking ceremony on October 1st, construction began at the new Thompson Career Campus. Next month, high schools will be hosting informational events for 9th through 11th graders to learn more about the 4 career pathways and to start the pre-registration process for the 2020-21 school year. New Pre-K-8 Community Night. Earlier this month, TSD's Bond team hosted an event designed to update the community on the new Pre-K-8 grade school project. The open house provided tentative architectural information as well as an opportunity for the attendees to ask questions about what they can expect to see as the construction process begins. Veterans Day, students and staff were humbled to participate in a number of Veterans Day activities on November 11th, including Loveland's traditional Veterans Day parade. We are honored and grateful for the sacrifice and service of our veterans, and we greatly enjoyed welcoming them at events throughout our schools. We hosted an SRO breakfast on November 6th. Thompson School District hosted a thank you breakfast for our amazing school resource officers who serve our students and community. Thank you, Larimer County Sheriff's Office and Loveland Police for all that you do. I recently had the opportunity to be interviewed at Loveland High School's student-designed audio studio called The Peak. The podcast that they recorded with me along with the host site is scheduled to be launched in early December. More details will be released soon. This is yet another great student-led initiative, and I encourage you to check it out when it gets underway. Read Aloud Day. A total of 109 volunteers throughout the district visited our schools to participate in Read Aloud Day on November 12th, an opportunity to read a book in a classroom and visit with students. Thank you to all of our Read Aloud volunteers. Huge shout out and congratulations to Loveland High School Crimson Regiment. They are our state champions. With a final competitive score of 86.45, the Loveland High School Crimson Regiment has been awarded the title of 4A State Marching Band Champion. Congratulations to all of the students, staff, family members, and volunteers who work so hard to make it happen. I'll note at our next meeting in December, we'll actually have the director and drum majors, so we can honor them and recognize them. That's a huge deal. So we're excited for them. Last month, we were recognized by the EPA. Regional Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency showcased Thompson School District's efforts in lead testing throughout our district's water system. We are so appreciative of the partnerships between TSD, the City of Loveland, and Colorado State University for making this a reality. Open enrollment is almost here. Our open enrollment period will begin on December 2nd and will extend until 4:30 p.m. on January 10th. All applications will be completed online like last year. And to register, families may simply visit thompsonschools.org/open enrollment. Unity Day on October 23rd, High Plains School, Cottonwood Plains Elementary School, Conrad Ball Middle School, and Berthoud High School joined the Unity Day movement entitled Together We Can Create a World Without Bullying, showing their support by wearing the color orange to school. Unity Day is a program of the National Bullying Prevention Center, which actively leads social change to prevent childhood bullying so that all youth are safe and supported in their schools, communities, and online. Shadows in the Arts. Thompson School District high school students had the opportunity to participate in the Channeling Van Gogh workshop sponsored by the TSD Shadows in the Arts program. Colorado artist and former Loveland resident Dina Peterson worked to recreate scenes in oil paint based on Van Gogh's paintings in the movie Loving Vincent. Workshop participants spent some time studying some of Van Gogh's work and his journey to become one of history's most unique artists. Shadows in the Arts is a district-sponsored enrichment program designed to engage students who demonstrate talent in the arts. Next is the agenda. No, we have two more slides. We'll give it a second, otherwise I'll just read. The next slide is Courts in the Community at Berthoud High School. On November 13th, Berthoud High School hosted a session of Courts in the Community, an educational outreach program that was initiated by the Colorado Supreme Court and Courts of Appeals on May 1st, 1986. The program was developed to give Colorado high school students firsthand experience into how the Colorado judicial system works, and it also illustrates how disputes are resolved in a democratic society. It is important to note that these were not mock proceedings. They were oral arguments in actual cases from which official court opinions will soon be issued. And finally, today, Kids Pack Food Packing Contest at Subaru of Loveland. Earlier today, our Thompson School District team proudly faced off against a team from Subaru of Loveland in our annual contest to determine who can pack food for this week's food distribution in the fastest. After a grueling contest, Team Thompson captured the title once again 2 years in a row. The Loveland Rotary Kids Pack program is a weekend hunger relief effort that provides valuable food assistance to hundreds of Thompson School District students. We are very grateful for all they do for our students and families, and we had a great time today, and it's also very fun to win. Okay, so now comes my favorite part of the superintendent report. I'm going to introduce to you Trish Ballack, who serves as our principal of Lorraine Edmondson Elementary School, and today we are showcasing Lorraine Edmondson and a number of our students.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, and members of the board. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm super proud to introduce to you our students who are here to present to you. They are members of our student council, and as they speak to you, they're going to introduce themselves individually.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Roundy, and I am a 4th grader. We are here to tell you about Edmondson Elementary School. As Edmondson students, we love when we can have a voice in how we can make our school a better learning environment. We are going to tell you about several ways we have done that in the last couple of years.
Hi, my name is Wesley Eltringham, and I'm a 5th grader. When I was a 3rd grader, Mrs. Malik asked the 3rd and 4th graders to help redesign our computer lab because our computers were getting too old and we have one-to-one iPads. We used the design thinking process to do this. First, we gained empathy by surveying all the students and staff at Edmondson. We also visited Madwire and Otterbox in Fort Collins to see what innovative workspaces looked like. We interviewed their employees to find out how they use our 9 STEM learner profiles.
Hi, my name is Lucas Yine. I am a 5th grader. At Edmondson, a STEM learner is a problem solver who collaborates, perseveres, communicates, innovates, critical thinks, has empathy and integrity, and is a globally aware and flexible. Our goal was to create an innovative workspace where we could use all of our STEM learner profiles. We also asked district employees from facilities to talk about what was possible in our redesign.
Hi, my name is Harmony Alaman, and I'm a 5th grader. After we developed empathy and defined our goal, we ideated with partners. Then we made 2D prototypes. We presented our ideas to our class and voted on the best ideas to move forward. Those people created 3D models of our designs and budgeted. Mrs. Malik gave us $3,000 to spend. He presented our designs to a panel of experts. They chose ideas from each of our designs to put into the final design. Over the summer, our lab was transformed into our new STEM lab.
Hi, my name is Madeline Wilson, and I'm a 5th grader. We use our STEM lab in many different ways. We learn to code with our iPads and by using our spheros and Bbots. We have a green screen that we use to create videos. We have 3D printers. Our lab has a place for us to ideate, prototype, and test our designs when we are using the design thinking process. It is a flexible space in many ways. Last year, during our government unit, our focusing lens was being an informed citizen helps one make wise choices and impact change. Our class decided that we wanted to work on making recess better. We brainstormed many ideas and presented them to a panel of experts. Mrs. Malik bought us soccer nets. We created clearly defined rules for specific games. We also proposed that we put in a walking/running track in our field. In October, we raised $10,000 for our track, and we are working on a project proposal to build it this spring.
Hi, my name is JC Paul, and I'm a 5th grader. I was in the other 4th grade class last year, and we decided we wanted to make improvements to homework. We wanted to make homework less stressful and give us more family time. We designed a game board and proposed the homework be family activities in all subject areas like reading, math, writing, science, social studies, music, PE, STEM, and social emotional. We presented this idea to all the teachers at a staff meeting last spring, and they loved the idea. So this year we have homework bingo every month. We get to do fun things with our families, and there is no stress with homework anymore.
Hi, my name is Calvin Lee, and I'm a third grader. Last year, our student council had some money that we made from selling Smensols. We decided that instead of buying something for our school, we wanted to use the money on experiences for the students. We decided that we would have school-wide STEM challenges. Mrs. Sue, our STEM teacher and student council leader, put us into 40 groups, and each team had a kindergarten through 5th grader in it. We were each assigned to a different house or teacher. We worked together to solve our STEM challenges. The older kids helped the younger kids. This year, we are going to try to do this once a month.
Hi, my name is Tessa Gagnon, and I am a first grader. Last year, as a kindergartner, we prototyped ideas for an outdoor classroom and a garden. Our teachers wrote a grant, and now Big Green is helping us put in a garden at our school.
Thank you for letting us share about Edmondson. Do you have any questions?
Board?
Oh, that was an amazing presentation of all the things you guys have been in charge of, making decisions about your school.
We're super busy over there. Holy moly.
I have a question too.
Go ahead, Mark. Okay, Mark and then Stu.
Just real quick, go down the line and tell us your favorite part of your STEM lab.
Probably the Spiros.
Can you say it real loud? Do you want them in the microphone? Say
You
it
don't
really
have to.
loud.
You don't have to.
Dessa, what's your part?
The iPads.
Spheros.
I like the Spiros and the green screen.
I also like the Spiros.
I like the Spheros and the flexible seating.
I like the Spiros and iPads.
I like the green screen.
Okay, we're going to have to come check out the Spheros.
Yeah, I'm like,
Because they did not have that when we were in school, I can guarantee you. Stu?
Next Tuesday afternoon, we're doing our first STEM challenge for the school year, and they'll be designing traps for the turkey, which are the Spiros.
Oh, okay.
It starts
All
at
right.
2:15 or 2:10
Okay,
if you want to
all
come
right,
over and
2:15
see.
on Tuesday. We might just all show up. Okay. Stu, you had a question?
Yes, it's now a different question because Mark asked my question. So for as many of you as want to answer, here's the question. What do you especially like about being a student at Edmondson Elementary? What do you like about your school?
I like having one-to-one iPads because we get to use it a lot.
I like the Spiros and the iPads because we get to do a lot of fun things on them.
Okay, and as the rest of you answer, your answers don't necessarily have to relate to your presentation. They certainly can. The first two guys did. But if there are other things that you really like about your school, we'd be interested in hearing about that too.
I like learning, and it's better for our education.
Yes, indeed.
I like how our school lets us have a voice in things.
I like how our school has a couple classrooms have flexible seating.
I like our school because we learn.
I like my school because we do, in my class, we do cursive, math, and science.
I like our schools because we have specials and we're able to have flexible seating and yeah.
Nice job. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, Edmondson Elementary, for telling us about your school and all the great things you have going on there. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And parents and students, you're welcome to leave or stay. It's entirely up to you. If you want to stay for a little bit and leave later, we won't be offended. So whatever you need to do.
Just drive carefully.
Yeah.
Because what?
Drive carefully.
Yeah, drive carefully in the weather.
Precious cargo.
All right, board committee reports. I'm going to just start, I'll start down here with Dawn and move down this way. And I know we had these last meeting and we're just getting back on track. We got off track, so we were doubled up this month, so you get to talk twice this month. So Go ahead, start with Dawn.
All right. Not sure if I have audio. Okay, I do. Okay. So since we've met last, I did get a chance to go to our district accountability committee meeting, and it was a really great discussion. A lot of good things came out of all the great voices that were in the room. I did also get to go to the Larimer County-led presentation and with the Board of Health, which was, I think, a really great kudos to follow up on the EPA award that was won, and I'm proud to see that our community is really doing things to make our environment more safe for our children, and we were a forerunner in that, which was quite amazing. I also did have a great time learning about genetics last week. That was so insightful, and I just really appreciate that we're also investing in our professional development that way and giving us tools to use everywhere that we're interacting with other people, which is, most of what we do, which is great. And then today I had the pleasure of going to Ferguson High School for my first time as a board member, which was really great to get to see things from a new perspective, as well as get to see all the great things that I was already experiencing. And I just am incredibly impressed with the student and the staff that are there. They are doing amazing things, and it was really great to get to see everything that team is doing. So thank you, and I'm glad you guys are here tonight.
Mark?
All right. So keeping on my pace, I did another walkthrough. This time it was at Turner Middle School. Great to see all the different middle schools, and it's always neat for me to be able to identify something very unique about the school that's a real strength. We've got that in every single one of our middle schools, and frankly in every school in our district. I love to see that. I also attended the DAC committee meeting. One thing that really impresses me this year is just they're looking at more of a holistic analysis of the district instead of focusing on each individual building. I think that that's a different perspective, and it's a different approach from previous years, and I'm seeing a lot of benefit from that. So that's really cool. Last night we had the TSD audit committee, and I am so impressed with both the level of expertise brought by everyone involved in this committee and the auditing process. But I'm also really impressed with the exemplary level of the bar that's consistently set by our district's financial team. Great job so far. Finally, absolutely last but not least, the Garfield Elementary LISA Showcase. Congratulations to the people that make the district's LISA program happen. What we've built at our LISA schools is really something both special and unique. It's not just a name of a program, it's a way of thinking that weaves it throughout the very fabric of our school community. And the students are the one that benefits the most from that program. So again, LISA program at Garfield Elementary, fabulous work. Keep it up, keep it going.
Ditto. I was there too. They always do a great job. One of the things that I've gotten a chance to do this year that I didn't get a chance to do earlier or last semester is walkthroughs with Dr. Schaefer, where we go and visit schools and see teaching and learning in action in the classrooms. And so I've been able to see both Bill Reed Middle School and Walt Clark Middle School, and then Thompson Valley High School and Loveland High School. And it's just I think it's really important for the board members to get out and see just what's happening in the schools. It's really informative. Stu.
I also had the opportunity to participate in 3 different walkthroughs, and that was very enjoyable. Saturday before last, I was a reader at the Megaminds Knowledge Bowl meet at Berthoud High School. Teams from Loveland High, Thompson Valley, and Berthoud High all participate in Knowledge Bowl. And for those of you who've never been to a Knowledge Bowl meet, it's one exciting event, and I hope you have the opportunity to participate in that. I was one of the read aloud readers. I got to read Flat Stanley to second graders at Berthoud Elementary, and that was great fun. I attended the Kids Pack annual fundraiser with a number of the other folks who are up here. Dr. Schaefer talked about the Court in the Schools presentation at Berthoud High School, and I think what impressed Dr. Schaefer and Lori and me was the respectful and quiet way that the students handled a 2-hour sit and get in the auditorium, and how engaged they were in the excellent questions that they answered. Last weekend, I attended the Berthoud High School annual musical. They did Annie. It was outstanding, and something I had never gone to before was the Thompson FFA hired hand auction on Saturday. It's their primary fundraiser. There were about 400 people in the cafeteria at Thompson Valley High School. It was great fun, and they brought in some serious money for their program. And then finally, I was invited by a friend last week to attend the launch of the Hawk Center for Regional Engagement. And this is an impressive initiative to enhance all kinds of things that are going on in northern Colorado. The keynote speaker was a futurist named Trista Harris, who's also an author, and I was particularly interested in her remarks on the future of education based on the research that she's done. So this is one of the real exciting parts for all of us in terms of being a board member, to be able to learn and attend all different kinds of events and share what we've learned with each other and with all of you.
Walkthroughs as well. I went to Bill Reed and High Plains and have one tomorrow. I also want to say that High Plains has modules that are up and running. Thank you, Don. It's all done. So they're good to go, and I think they held classes in them yesterday. Monday. Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is Wednesday already. Calendar committee, we can see the end of calendar committee, which is kind of a celebration. But we're getting there. Our PI minutes from the policy are attached. The early childhood are attached to our agenda. I also went to Annie. I also attended the Board of Health, where they honored or listened to the report about the lead testing that we had done in the district, and the Kids Pack meal. So busy month, as always.
I don't have anything unique that hasn't been mentioned already, so I'm good. No report.
That's the benefit of going last.
He probably should go first next time.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry, I'll mix it up. All right, thank you. Are there any anyone signed up over there, Paul? No? All right. Oh, would you like to? Okay.
Hold on.
I'll go ahead and do it. I just need to come on up, put your information down here while Barb reads the public comment statement. So item 4.4 is public comment. Barb's going to read the policy statement that goes with it. Ma'am, she's got it right over here. Go ahead.
All regular and special meetings of the board shall be open to the public, because the board wants to hear the viewpoints of the public and also needs to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner. It shall schedule time during its regular board meetings for brief comments and questions from the public. The board shall set an unlimited time for public participation prior to the business portion of the meeting. However, the time for each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes, and each individual will only be recognized once. And in addition, just to let public participants know that we will not be responding to any of the comments that are made.
Just 1 second, ma'am, and he will set the timer for you. You'll have 3 minutes. The green light will come on. The yellow comes on when it's, 30 seconds from the end, maybe?
Yeah.
And then at the red light will come on. You see the lights there. The red light will come on, and
I asked for an extension because I have a disability due to a traumatic brain injury that my ex-husband gave me. So sometimes I don't get my whole sentences out in time for your 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I'd ask that you would please bear with me.
All right.
This is important enough that I'm putting myself on the spot here.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'd just also like to add, she explained a certain situation to me. She's fine. She's not going to be giving her name and address.
Okay.
And I can explain that later.
Okay, but we do have
okay.
it. We do have it, correct?
We don't have it, so.
Okay. Okay. All right.
You can call me B, okay? My child and I have been in another district. And we decided because of her academic needs, she may need to come closer into this district. And so through is where my daughter is attending at this point. Okay? And the problem that I've run into is in transferring, it's the first one. I have to go through ACP, through the state, to get my transcripts for her transferred anywhere within the state. I started in the end of, or this middle of September to get her transferred. This caused a great problem because your staff on almost all your high schools, elementaries, whatever, are not acknowledging, and they do not have education on the ACP program the state of Colorado affords to me. And so consequently, what would happen is that her delay in admittance into your school district took over 6 weeks. So by October 14th, you finally had to start in the middle of your session, which caused a great deal of problems to start to ensue. I have a particular profession in which I have to block out times for my child, and she has had severe, unrelenting migraines since August 19th of this year that have been causing hospitalization, has caused continual, I have a wing of the hospital I own here, due to these ongoing headaches. We go to Children's Hospital a great deal of the time to try to get them under control and finally have managed to do so. In the meantime, she came from a quarter system into a semester system to see if this would help her get things taken care of. And the difference is this: I'm on which is for a federal government program. And so she gets off of my ledger, she gets a portion sent to her. She has to be in school a certain amount of hours to be considered full-time. And they were trying to manage this with basically the challenge of the ACP not being able to get her transcripts to the school so that we could work this out, and it took an awful long time. The classes she's currently in, when I talked to Jane, I told her the goal is not to hurry and rush get my child through high school, and because she's considered a senior, but because of her particular needs and because of her particular situation, she's not going to graduate until December of next year. And the reason for that is because when she starts to get stressed, certain things happen to her body, and one is the migraines, and the second is she's starting to lose her hair. And I have been picking up gobs of hair in the tub from her the last 4 weeks, and she's only been in school since October 14th in your school district. And she is supposed to be online in classes, but the communication on how to do this has been so poor. I've practically lived at the school trying to get information. What happens with that, then I get upset and I call trying to get a hold of somebody to make an explanation for what's going on. And as I don't get answers, I get elevated in my anger because I don't understand why I can't get answers. And so at this point, I have constantly been bombarded with, congratulations, you need to fill this form out because of the diploma that your daughter's getting. And I'm going back to the school saying, listen, I thought we decided it is when the child is able to get through school, when she graduates, is when she graduates. But I have heard from the onset of this whole thing is that she has to get through and we are supposed to do this. Well, great for your school district, great for the state, but not great for the child. If you're in the best interest of my child, you will work with her disabilities, and that means she may not graduate in May of this year. And I don't have a written anything from the school to say she'll graduate when she gets through this. Now, I have requested that the other school she was at, they just kept throwing her in work studies. Her E, it's an E. You'll have to help me. There's core classes and then there's E's.
Electives.
Thank you. The electives are basically homeroom, non-productive study halls. So she has this many electives because they didn't want to deal with the fact she wasn't learning anything, that she was being able to work with her disability at the other school. That's why I came to your district, okay? Because in straightening it out, she might be able to get some fun classes in there that might alleviate some of the stress that she feels in coming and having transferred in her senior year and leaving all of her friends and her supports someplace else. So I have asked Jane, and she says, no, we're going to make sure they get the core classes, and then she'll, we'll think about doing the electives. And I'm going, no, you will do what I asked you to do, because I have had a fight with every school district I have ever been in. My kids have got these arthritis, palindromic, rheumatoid conditions, asthma, Raynaud's conditions. These act up between October and March of the year because it's the coldest. And so they have been homeschooled and home tutored by 3 different school districts. So they don't have the socialization that most kids would have. One of the reasons of putting her back in is because she's stabilized enough to try to get that socialization. She also has a small little job that helps her get used to being around the public. I have worked with her, and her desire is to become a dog trainer. And she is incredibly great with animals. But you don't have a program for this. So we are developing with what I know, because I'm 6 credits away from a master's in inclusionary practices at CSU. And so I'm trying to help her by what I have got so far to guide her life. But with this classes and the problems with the principal, I was told I have to now email everybody. And it's like, no, you could have picked the phone up, talked to me, and they feel that they've already talked to me about this, but they haven't put it in writing. Until it's in writing, it's not a contract. It's something I can't tactily get a hold of when I'm on a plane and go, oh yeah, we're doing this. Or I get a phone call and say, oh, she's missed this 5A class, which I got tonight. She doesn't know what a 5A class is that she missed. She's been in school all day. So I'm sitting here going, when am I going to get some answers with a human being that will understand that I'm dealing with a disability with a TBI, with the 2 children that have had severe conditions, which I have supported Children's Hospital in since they were 9 years old. The school districts I've had to deal with before, how they handle the kids that have got these disabilities, Weld County put her in a class with juvenile delinquents. They put both of them in. There was no place to put them in a regular school. The other school just kind of ignored her needs in regards to what I wanted as a parent. I was informed by that principal, we do what the child wants, not what the parent wants. That's one of the reasons I come to your school, because I'm in hope that I will be able to work with staff, and they need to call. I do not have access all the time to email. I'm traveling, and I do these blocks of time, and when she gets in the hospital, I have to come home, and I'm done with whatever work I have.
Ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt you, but we do need to move on in the meeting. And I'm sensing that we need to make a connection and have Dr. Schaefer get
I
a
will
name
connect
and
you with
do a connection.
If there's a way we can get a good way of contacting you, I'll have a member of my senior team speak with you.
I would appreciate it. In fact, I can leave it with one of the officers, if that's okay with you all. That way I know it stays secure.
That would be fine.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, and there are no others, correct? Okay, thank you. Moving on to action consent items. Item 5 is action consent items. There are 14 items on there that I will go ahead and read the titles. There are no gifts and donations, correct? So we won't have that one. But we'll take these up as a whole. I'll read them first. We'll take these up as a whole. If anyone wants to pull anything off, if any board member wants to pull anything off, let me know once I've read them. So they are item 5.1, approval of personnel extra duty coaching recommendations. 5.3, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Berthoud Elementary School. 5.4, approval approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Berthoud High School. Item 5.5, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Carey Martin Elementary School. 5.6, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for CTE GMP. Item 5.7, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Garfield Elementary School. 5.8, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Loveland High School. 5.9, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Lincoln Elementary School. 5.10, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Monroe Elementary School. 5.11, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Sarah Milner Elementary School. 5.12, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Thompson Valley High School. 5.13, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Winona Elementary School. And 5.14, approval of bond-related contract and associated project budget for Ivy Stockwell Elementary School. Anything we want to pull off there tonight? Thank you. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
So moved.
Second.
And that was Dawn made the motion and Barb seconded to approve the action consent items as a whole. Any questions at all? Hearing none, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll, please.
Paul Banks.
Aye.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Viesda Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
And Mark Sutter.
Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimously approved. Next is action items. We have one action item tonight, item 6.1, which is CTE IB. CTE is Career Technical Education, IB International Baccalaureate Course Approval. Dawn Huckabee.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer, Don Huckabee, Chief Academic Officer. And tonight we bring forward to you a number of courses that were not quite ready for our initial curriculum Improvement Council. So these are related to our 4 career pathways that will be conducted at the Thompson Career Center, as well as a number of courses for International Baccalaureate to be added to the course catalog for the 2021 school year. So our team will be presenting to you the process and the courses, and then we would ask that you would move this as an action item upon completion of the any questions that you may have. So I'm going to turn this over to Shannon Clark, our Director of Curriculum and Learning Design, and Theo Robeson, our Director of Secondary Education.
I'll have to say that tonight Shannon's unable to communicate. She's battling some throat issues, so I'll be taking the lead in this presentation tonight. So, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Schaefer. So Thompson School District CIC approved courses. Sorry, I got to do this part too. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Can it do the, okay, that first, okay.
So the first thing that I want to point out is how these, one of the things that you'll find as I'm talking tonight is that these have a natural alignment to our portrait of a TSD graduate, the critical thinker, citizenship, collaborator, self-advocate, and communicator. In addition to that, you're going to see the ties to our Strive 2025 connection areas for Focus Area 1, Student Achievement, Inclusive and Supportive Culture, Focus Area 3, Human Talent, and Focus Area 4, Stewardship of Resources. So the thing that we want you to know through this Curriculum Improvement Council process for IB and CTE courses, because these IB and CTE courses have been created and vetted at the national and state level respectively, the timeline has been consolidated. Teachers and building principals submit the CIC concept sheet. Then teachers and administrator presented the courses to the CIC district team. From there, if it's approved, the course will be included in the course guidebook and taught in the following year. Teachers and building principals will be brought back in the following year for a reflection meeting with the CIC district team. In addition, a survey will be issued to students who took the class and their parents for second year feedback. And then lastly, after a successful evaluation of the course after 2 years, the course will be added to the course guidebook for other buildings to offer if they choose to. The district review team for this work is Tracy Stagel, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Shannon Clark, the Director of Curriculum and Learning Design, myself, the Director of Secondary Education, Chastity Stringer, our Assistant Director of Assessment and Evaluation, and then Andy Cressman, our President of TA. The proposed committee-approved classes for 2021, we're going to start off with our IB, DP, Environmental Systems and Societies. Within this gives an IB Science option for the standard level, which makes it a one-year course, where the HL courses are two-year courses. This course focuses on environmental systems and issues, interconnectedness between environmental systems and societies, awareness of finite resources sustainability, and an awareness that environmental problems are caused and solved by individuals and societies that are based on different environmental values. In addition, you'll see that IB Math DP 11, IB DP Math Applications and Interpretations, and then a variety of other courses which I'll talk about. But first of all, the IB Math HL and Math SL and Math Studies SL will no longer be offered. The IB DP Math 11 is focused on calculus AB content and prepares students for all 4 DP Math pathways. In addition, IBDP Math Applications and Interpretations has a heavy focus on statistics, and the SL is geared more towards business, social science, psychology, and liberal arts, while the HL requires an additional 90 hours of one semester of additional content and is geared more towards natural sciences and design.
Theo, can I interrupt you just for a
Yes.
second? With the IB, there's a lot of lingo.
Yes.
So would you
So I'm
mind?
sorry.
And
So
I know it because my daughter was
thank
an
you.
IB student.
Thank you for
but
that
could you-
clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
So DP is a diploma program, SL is the standard level course, and then the HL is the higher level course. Thank you for asking for that clarification. In addition, the IBDP Math Analysis and approaches focuses on analysis of mathematical form and structure, while the SL is geared more towards physical science and economics, while the HL requires an additional 90 hours of one semester of additional content, which is geared more towards engineering and mathematics specifically. Our CTE courses that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to start off with the first one, which is the Information Technology Pathway, which students will learn the basics of hardware and hardware components, along with fundamentals of hardware security and development of security-enhanced hardware infrastructure, in addition to device protection. Also, in the health sciences, students will participate in patient care, clinical studies to include patient safety, foundational anatomy and physiology coursework, patient care principles, patient communication, data collection, and reporting and understanding legal issues. And as we look at construction trades, students will learn about career readiness within the construction trades industry to include operating heavy machinery and equipment, blueprint reading, surveying, and practical mechanics. In addition, they'll also learn about the basics of plumbing, technology processes, pipe fitting, reading plumbing blueprints, and the installation of fixtures and appliances, and learn about the basics of welding, including soldering and bronze metal work. Any questions? And I invite Dr. Germain to come up with help with the questions as well, because he's been a big part of the work for CTE. So,
I just have to have a clarification on the math one.
yes.
That's a lot of classes, and so it's not one class, I assume, it's 1, 2, 3, 5 classes? And will they be full? Is that what you're anticipating, or?
So the purpose of this is that, so typically these math programs were been placed to where students had to take them for 2 years. And what we want to figure out is how can students still have access to them, but then decide that maybe they're only interested in for 1 year of the programming. And so that's the purpose of why we created some of these strands now. So kids have more options inside of the programming for international baccalaureates.
And they'll replace the HL and the SL and the further math. Is further math still a thing?
So what's being replaced in this is there'll no longer be the IB Math HL, the Math SL, and the Math Studies SL.
Studies.
Yes, those will no longer be offered at all.
And these come down from the IB.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. It's an international, yeah.
Okay, thank you. It just looked like a lot.
Yeah, I know. When I first read it too, it did. Dr.
Yeah, so
Schaefer?
these are not classes that we created. These are classes from the International Baccalaureate Program, and we've selected to offer them here. And again, as Theo said, it's really to provide more choice for our students who are in that pipeline.
Makes it more flexible. Paul?
But just as a side note, so I'm not able to connect the dots in my mind, but this might apply to her, not just using my daughter as an example, that she's very excited about the IB program, but she's also very mathematically inclined and want to do that. So she had been taking advanced math classes. Then she got to her year where the math didn't line up in her. So basically, the end result was she stopped doing the IB program in order for her to continue doing math. So I don't know if this starts getting at that issue, or is that something?
Hi. Sorry. I was just going to point out where that was.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that is answered
I can go through the alignment for you if you
Yeah,
want
you
that
don't
more
necessarily
clear.
have to.
But for 12th
Just-
grade, so I'm going to kind of describe the options
Okay.
that'll be forecast for students in 12th grade. And maybe this answers the question to what could happen new for your child, I would hope. So the first part of this is that there'll be first semester statistics and then second semester DP Math Explorer. But then also you'll have access to statistics in the first semester. But then as you transition through, you're going to get a deeper, higher level content, which focuses on calculus in the second semester, and then also the higher level math for 12th grade. So it's kind of, did your daughter actually take calculus? And then once she was in IB, is what I would
She
inquire?
ended up taking calculus as a junior, and then she's taking the HL this year. Yeah.
So it sounds like that track would not be much different for your kiddo, as I just
Like I said,
described.
I don't know exact what happened. I just remember that she ended up having to make a choice between continuing IB or being able to take the math classes she wanted, and she took math.
Got you.
Mark, sorry.
Let's see, probably Jason, but can you, given the CTE career programs, can you run us through just kind of a brief timeline of how that was developed and collaboration gathered from the community?
Certainly. So the planning for the course development really started with looking at what's been happening across the state for the past, 10 to 20 years minimally, to look at not only the types of pathways that have come and gone over the years, but also to look at how different aspects of curriculum and content areas were integrated into those. And we were able to learn a lot from the different types of things that were happening, anything from core credit being integrated into CTE programs, but not naturally integrated into the actual coursework. So it was more of a set-aside time for core instruction, to, like I said earlier, pathways that really are no longer relevant in terms of the mission and vision of the Thompson Career Campus that we're looking to further here in the school district. So after the research was completed, we put together a series of, and I don't know, Theo, maybe you can help me out with this, but we had surveys to the community and to parents on a number of different occasions regarding the pathways initially, and then from there,
Workforce pathways that exist inside the community.
right, they also went out to the different businesses and industries. Once we settled on which pathways we felt best met the mission and vision of the center, then we moved forward putting together advisory committees that were minimally 50% industry, who helped guide us in ensuring that the content that we were going to provide students would be the most relevant and practical content for them to take with them after high school. That information was then handed over to Lisa Adams, who's sitting in the back, and myself. And Lisa really took the lead on putting the screws to crosswalking that content and curriculum with the CTE standards, as well as core content standards in ELA, science, and math. along with looking at some of the practical work skills, really things like collaboration, creativity, some of the things you saw in a portrait of a graduate earlier in the presentation that we wanted to naturally integrate into the curriculum as well. Once that crosswalk was completed, we did bring in some core content experts to look at the goodness of fit, or really the feasibility, and that was of primary importance because there's far more overlap then maybe there would be time for instruction unless we had the students all day long, every single day, even on the weekends. And so narrowing that down to a goodness of fit to ensure that we were providing academic experiences with the proper rigor and fidelity, as well as making sure that the students' core CTE experience was aligned with what industry needed to give them was paramount as we went through that process. Go ahead, Mark.
I'll also say, in addition to all that, an additional layer was embedding in college credit as well, so crosswalking the courses not only with high school standards, ELA, math, but and industry standards, CTE, but also college credit, as well as industry certificates. And so there is robust, not only credit, potentially certifications, and so that are all baked into a course. So these courses are not only meet our high school standards, but also in many cases meet college standards as well as credentialing standards.
I have a question, Jason. I know that the automotive program is going to be at Thompson Valley. Is that why it's not on this list?
That's correct.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'm going to go ahead and call for motion because we want to get this moved.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to do what? To adopt to approve the presented Career Tech Ed and International Baccalaureate courses. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Laura Lee, if you would call the roll, please.
Paul Banks.
Aye.
Stu Boyd.
Aye.
Pam Howard. Lori Vista Ward.
Aye.
Don Kirk.
Aye.
Barbara Cruz.
Aye.
Mark Sutter.
Aye.
Thank you. That's a unanimous pass as well.
Thank you, Board.
You bet. Next up, we move to discussion items. First, we have a teen court presentation with Judge Jerry Johnson. That's 2 meetings in a row for you.
See if I can. I'm pretty challenged. Right. All right. Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, and Dr. Schaefer. I am Judge Jerry Johnson, your municipal court judge, and I am very proud and privileged to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation. We're here to share with you our program that is incredibly unique to Loveland, and that's our teen court program. Every Wednesday afternoon from about 1:30 to 4:30, I see nearly 20 to 25 juveniles in my courtroom who are students here in Thompson Valley School District. And they're there for a variety of charges. And approximately, I'd say 5 years ago in 2014, when I took the bench, I inherited a 2-day-old project. It was 2 days old. It was a project and a vision by one of our former council members, Phil Farley. And he wanted to have a place where children could come, juveniles could come, and while they are in the court system, they can be punished and learn at the same time. And so we developed this teen court program, and it has morphed over the last 5 years into an incredible place where we have many juveniles that participate every Tuesday afternoon in our court from 3 to 4:30 as members of a jury, and they sanction and decide the sentences of their peers. So I'm going to share with you how it's structured, and then I'd like to introduce to you the professional team that we use each Tuesday afternoon. Teen Court is a collaboration between the Loveland Municipal Court, the Loveland Police Department, the Loveland City Attorney's Office, and the Thompson R2J School District. We are the only teen court in the state of Colorado that, while we are members of the Teen Court Association, we are the only one that includes our school district in our program. The rest are all part of just the judicial branch of the municipality. So that's unique in and of itself. And I can tell you that our two teen court advisors, Tracy Evangelista and Ashley Blair, who are educators here in our school district at Ferguson High School, are phenomenal. And they have been with us from basically day one. So they have been incredibly dedicated to this program and its growth over the last 5 years. We think our program is structured and it functions so well that now we are able to teach virtues such as integrity, respect, leadership, and accountability. And what we have been able to see over the last 5 years is students who come into my courtroom on a Wednesday afternoon with a pretty big attitude. And over the course of approximately 90 to 120 days, they learn how to become leaders. They learn how to respect one another's opinions, although they may be different from their own. They learn how to be leaders, and they learn ownership and accountability for bad behavior. And they have the opportunity then to turn that around and make it a good thing. So they learn from their mistakes and actually become leaders in our community. We have one of them here with us tonight, and I sometimes feel sorry for poor Melina. She's here tonight, and I don't think she realized how long her sentence was actually going to be with me, because I think I've known Melina now for a year, and she has become part of this team that we have. She's here tonight, and I will introduce her here shortly to you. Over the last 5 years, and this is not an updated number, we were invited to an international conference down in Denver. The teen court team was. We spoke at the conference on October 7th, I believe, so these numbers would actually be about a month old. We've heard 213 cases, and I shouldn't say we. I preside over the case, but the kids are hearing these cases. They're actually doing them. And out of the 213 cases, only 33 have resulted in a motion to revoke their deferred sentence. So actually, when the kids come into my courtroom, they plead guilty to their charge, then they're sentenced to teen court, where they come and participate as actual members. And when there's a motion to revoke, that's when we've actually taken back their deferred sentence and a conviction is going to enter. So we have a success rate of 83%. And I think that is pretty remarkable in and of itself. Community service hours that have been given back to our community, 1,864. So that's a pretty remarkable number as well. I'm really proud of that. We have been keeping statistics for recidivism. Those that have reoffended within the first year of completing teen court, only 1% of our offenders. And then within the second year, it's 0.03. And then after a third year of recidivism. So what that is, we're not including traffic, it's just code violations. So we're not seeing these kids coming back into the court. That is our ultimate. Fortunately, it's turned into such a great program that those virtues have become a big part of it. This year, it has taken on a really unique identity, and that's due in large part to the two prosecutors that are assigned to this program, Emily Loomis and Claire Havelda. And they have designed this year a huge educational component of teen court. So they're not just learning these virtues and coming back, but they are actually learning about a case. So what our prosecutors did through their imagination and creativity, They created a case, and it began with our prosecutor, and I just love sharing this. She was arrested by one of our law enforcement officers in a mock-up, and this is Sergeant Rabson, and then what the kids, they were given this fact scenario, and each week they have an educational component. And they spend time learning about the process. They were able to search a vehicle. And when they searched the vehicle, they found things like drugs and a weapon. And they actually, you can see one of our student offenders here, he pulled the gun out of the vehicle. So it's a hands-on, remarkable experience for them this year. Then they were able to feel, touch, and smell some actual evidence from our evidence locker. And we had our evidence technician come up and work with them. They had that opportunity right there in the courtroom. So that is, too, a very, very remarkable piece to our program. I will tell you that each year it just gets better and better. And we have parents now who ask if their kids can participate in our teen court program. This collaboration, I am really, really proud to tell you that I have everybody here. I'm just the facilitator. I sit up there and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, but it's truly behind the scenes that the people here in this room I want to introduce, so you can put a face, this because we're so proud of it, and it is unique to Loveland, and it works for us. So if I could have our team come up, I have Emily Loomis, I have Tracy Evangelista, I have Officer Jalali here today too. She's one of our resource officers. Tracy is one of our educators. This is Melina, and I'm going to have Melina come up here and stand with me here for a moment. Officer Evangelista, Ashley Blair, Claire Havelda, and then I can never, ever leave out my true boss, although I report to City Council. My true boss is my court administrator, Patty Parker. So I get very choked up because without her, I could not do the job I do. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this young lady here because Melina came, when did you come and see us?
September last year?
Yeah, so September of 18?
Yes.
Okay. And she's okay with this. Melina came in, she copped a charge, and it was a code violation. She and her girlfriend did some things they just aren't supposed to do when they're not adults. And she came in, and she took her medicine. And she came up to me and she pled guilty right away. So we put her in the teen court program. And Melina was a star in our teen court program. And now I'm just proud to say that Melina's a junior at Mountain View High School. She's actively involved in theater and production. And I've had the distinct pleasure to go and see her in all of her productions. And she traveled down to Denver with us and spoke at the conference. So she's a great shining example of how this program works. And so we're really proud to have her and thank her. So with that being said, this is our team. They're amazing, and I hope you
Thank you for the presentation. You have a question?
Are all of the students who come through the teen court currently students in the Thompson School District?
Yes.
Yes.
From the middle schools up through high school. So we have kids that are 13, I think, participating, up to about 17 or 18.
And all of them are in the Loveland schools?
Most of them are, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, they might come down here and have a theft charge or something, but we'll have them participate.
And
So.
This is also available for students for their community service credit.
Yes, it
that
is.
correct?
And we've had some really remarkable kids come through that have they get volunteer hours. The program is from 3 to 4:30 on Tuesdays, but I give them 2 hours of community service when they come. And so we have had multiple students come through to get their community service requirements and do the teen court.
What do they do for community? I mean, what role do they play when they're volunteering?
All of our students play the role of jury members.
Okay. So it's not 12
they
jury,
hear,
it's-
Right. They hear the facts and circumstances through the offender. So the offender is sworn in, placed under oath, and has to testify and tell their story to their peers in public on the record, and then their peers deliberate and determine their sentence. I can tell you that some days the sentences are far harsher than I would give, and some days they're a lot less than I would give. So it just depends, and that's the system. And that's what we talk about, is how different it can be each and every week and with each and every case.
Are there elements of restorative practices in any of the parts of the proceedings or?
In the sentences and the restorative, yes. They'll have to write letters of apology to perhaps the stores, the law enforcement officers, teachers, victims. So there's a restorative piece. There's also a piece in the sentencing guidelines, we call it the character building projects. And we have, how many character building projects do we have? At least 12, 15? And so the juries can choose. For example, in a theft case, they may have to go out and interview the store manager, interview the law enforcement officer, and then they have to put together their final summary of the effect that it has on our community and their future and those things. So we have different character building components of this as well.
I would just like to praise this program. I am pretty well versed in it because my son's in 2 of these pictures. And
we didn't realize that until tonight. So.
Yeah, I saw that last night and I was like, I'm glad I saw that while I was at home so we could have fun with it. And, he is really lucky enough to be working with Ashley and Tracy, and this has been a very different process from the one that they went through last year, which was just the normal process, kind of the punitive process. First off, I dropped off a dejected kid who was in trouble, and I picked up someone who said, "This is so bleeping cool." Like, he screamed that as soon as he got in the car because it was the day you did the search, and he was pretty excited in the picture of the search. And so to really turn this into something for a student who is tactical, who needs to understand implications and the why and the how, this is turning a corner in a very new way to turn this into something real and meaningful and no longer just arbitrary and I don't understand it. And so I am really just impressed. When I knew that these 2 were involved with it, I knew it was going to be good stuff. Sure enough, it is. It's a brilliant program, and we're lucky to have it. As someone who's concerned about how much our kids get in trouble and what they're getting in trouble for, it is also good to know that they are in such good hands when they do. And so I really am appreciative to this team. So thank you.
And for your own education, I consider it an alternative sentencing opportunity for me. It's not for every juvenile that comes through my courtroom, but the vast majority it is. So it is my sentencing, one of my tools that I use in my toolbox, and it's working because of these people right here that make that happen. It's so amazing that we have the school district and the judiciary working together on this.
Dr. Schaefer?
Just really to echo, as this board is aware, Thompson School District, City of Loveland have a number of joint projects that we work very closely on. This is truly a national exemplar. Again, probably as Judge said, the only instance in the state of Colorado where a school district is partnering directly with the judicial system. Very, very special. And I think we have a huge return on our time investment and also the give back to the community. And quite honestly, it's investing in kids because it's giving them a chance to become productive and thriving members. And so there's a case in point right here. And we're super proud of the work that all of you are doing, and it's very special. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're very proud of it.
Thank you. Did you have one quick question?
I have a quick question. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but it's for Melina. What has this program done for you? What would your life have been like had you not participated in this program?
Loaded question. This program has, it's kind of broadened that mindset that it's kind of like, if you're honest with what you've done and what's happened in the past, and you're really open about it, you can move forward from the mistakes that you've made. And it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. So, yeah.
That's very true. That's kind of what so, that and integrity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the presentation. Next up, we have item 7.2, the 2018-2019 CAFR presentation, Gordon Jones. And you're going to tell us what CAFR stands for, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Comprehensive something.
You're 25% of the way there.
Annual?
50.
I'm going to stop there.
Financial report.
100.
Ah, there we go. See? Teamwork.
No fair reading. Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board, I'm Gordon Jones, Chief Financial Officer for the district. The focus area for this particular item of the agenda is related to focus area 4, stewardship of resources, and more particularly item 4.1, which is ensuring the transparency in the use of district resources. I'm sure each of you board members returning and the new ones will come to appreciate this time in the year as much as I do. Much as we head into the holiday season with anticipation, such as the CAFR season as well, the wrapping up of the CAFR season or the comprehensive annual financial report. By law, the district is required each year to have an independent audit of the financial results of the district. We have completed that for the most part, completed most of that process for this year. We're still waiting on a couple final things, but we are essentially through that process. That involves some preliminary field work of the audit team that comes out in typically June of each year for a week, as well as follow-up work after the end of the fiscal year, typically in October. The 155-page document that is posted on board docs is prepared by staff, reviewed by the auditors, and then presented in draft form for your review and consideration. The process, best practice calls for the CAFR to be brought before the board for formal adoption in December, so at the December meeting, prior to the end of 6 months following the end of the fiscal year is the deadline. So by the end of December, thus bringing that forward to the board now in draft form, and then again at the December 11th meeting for final consideration for adoption. Last night, the Audit Advisory Committee met with our independent auditor, Hinkle and Company, and spent an invigorating 2+ hours reviewing in detail the process that I will let Mr. Hinkle speak to a little more eloquently in just a moment. But it was a good exchange from my standpoint, speaking from my opinion. It was very open, honest conversations about a variety of different things, educational in some areas, factual in others. So a good process that we have in place from the district standpoint, I would say. So at this point, I would like to invite to the podium Mr. Jim Hinkle with Hinkle and Company, who is the independent auditor for the district, to offer his comments on the process this year, the audit, any specific comments he might have, and then I will follow that with just a couple quick slides for the board's consideration. So, Mr. Hinkle.
Madam President, members of the board, thank you very much for allowing me a few minutes to visit with you and explain the audit process. We did meet last night with the members of the Audit Advisory Committee, and you've got some really great people on that committee. It's nice for someone like me to be able to talk in detail about audit processes, risk assessment, and things like that, and have members of the committee know what we're talking about and ask great, intelligent questions. We began this year's audit of the December 31, 18 financial statements in June, where we did our analysis of internal controls, and the structure of internal controls, the segregation of duties, and the policies and procedures of the accounting department. We then test those internal controls to ensure that the control features are operating as they're intended to operate. The result of that work was that we determined that the school district has no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls. A significant deficiency is defined as a design flaw in the system of internal controls that would result in an error that would go undetected in the ordinary course of business. And a material weakness is a significant deficiency that would result in a material misstatement to the financial statements or the annual CAFR report. We also, at that time, looked at the federal awards that the district receives, and we test what is defined as the major programs as defined under the federal guidance. We specifically tested the special education cluster and the Head Start program. We evaluated to make sure that there were adequate internal controls in place so that the district was able to define, identify, and ensure compliance with all federal compliance requirements of those programs. And then we detail tested for compliance with that program. There again, we found no compliance issues with either one of those programs, and that the district does have the internal controls in place to ensure compliance with those requirements. As we then moved into the final field work after the year-end was over in October, and we audited the financial statements, the year-end balances of the balance sheets and the income statements to ensure that the staff's financial records are presented in accordance with general accepted accounting principles. Our output for that is an unmodified accountant's report or opinion, which in layman's term means a clean opinion. It states that the financial statements that are included in this CAFR are presented in accordance with general accepted accounting principles and applied on a basis consistent with the prior year. All of those are good reports. We worked well with the staff. We had a great communication with the audit committee. What I mentioned to them last night is that we did not have any complications during the audit. We did not have any disagreements with management. And anything that we asked for, we were provided in a timely manner, and we felt like we had an open transparency of information that was available to us through the audit process. So all in all, it went very smooth and very good. We did not have any audit adjustments to the financial statement during the process. Questions now or after you have a moment? Is there questions?
I think now, if you have a question for the auditor, as opposed to Gordon's information will be a little bit different. You have a question, Don? Or?
Just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, okay.
It's very thorough.
I would like to thank Mark for sitting in with us last night for 2 hours and letting some of us accounting people have a great conversation. I think it went very well. So thank you for joining us last night.
Absolutely, and right back at you, to get a better understanding of not only the controls that are in place and the way that you test them, but also the evolution, talking about 1984 and how things have changed since then and improved, in my opinion. And so thank you so much for your expertise and for sharing that knowledge with us. And yeah, it was 2 hours, but it did go very, very quickly. And we covered a lot of ground. So I think that's why it went so quickly and smoothly.
Yes.
Could you just briefly, and I don't need names, but give us the makeup of the audit committee, like how many people, what kind of
You want to
people are
provide
they?
that?
Gordon would know
Probably
better.
have a better ability to do that.
Sure. So there are 8 members of the committee. There's been one resignation, so there is a vacancy right now. If the board will recall, the past members, it was each board member nominating
That's
somebody
right.
from their, not necessarily from their ward, but just nominating a community member. We have people in business. We have people that aren't in business. Retiree is on the committee. There's Mr. Setter, by virtue of being elected as treasurer, is appointed to that committee. So 8 members plus myself. Mark and I both are non-voting. I guess I'm a member of that committee as well, but we are both non-voting members. So 7 voting members, 6 of which are currently seated, and I think there were 4 or 5 of the 6 in attendance last night.
Great, thanks. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Hinkle, and I think, Gordon, you're up.
If I could, I would just echo Jim's comments. The audit process, in my opinion, went very smooth this year. We had their requests for information they wanted to see. We did try to respond. We do try to respond to every audit very efficiently and timely to make the most work of their time. When they have their team here for those a week at a time with 3 or 4 people, we want to make sure that they're being as efficient as possible with their time. So from my opinion, the audit went very well as well, and we certainly appreciate the expertise of Mr. Hinkle and his firm. So the CAFR itself, there's not hard copies for the board. You will be presented with a final copy, hard copy, but I didn't want to waste the paper, I guess, in this case. It is posted online in board docs. It's 155 pages of the most enjoyable reading you will ever have.
Oh, boy.
If I could.
There's pictures.
There are a few pictures, yes. We try to, the cover of the CAFR this year.
Well, I did see that.
It's a great photo.
So the final document will be available at the December 11th meeting. You will see placeholders in the current document. Those are for the final opinion that Mr. Hinkle referenced, the unmodified or clean opinion, which is every entity's goal to hear from their auditors that you have a clean opinion, meaning there are no material misstatements, no findings that they have that they are suggesting. So that's always good news to hear that. So we're in the final stages of ticking and tying numbers. There's a couple rounding issues with literally $1 on one number that is $1 off from another number in the report. So we certainly want to put forward a very thorough and accurate document. We also submit this report to various agencies that analyze and evaluate to see if it meets the standards, the governmental accounting standards that are required, the presentation, there's specific areas and sections that are required. We're very proud of the record that we have there with multiple years of awards for excellence in financial reporting, and we want to keep that streak going. So once the final report is approved by the board, we do submit those to all the applicable parties, as well as all the requirements that we have from anybody that we have lending relationships with, the bond program, banks, any of those get that document as well. Every year I get 1 or 2 calls from people asking about the CAFR and saying, this is so overwhelming. How do we look at these numbers? How do we know what we're looking at? It is a very thorough, comprehensive, and confusing document if you are not typically accustomed to viewing these. So what I typically direct those people to are 3 sections of verbiage that's in the document. If they read that, they will have a pretty good layman's term overview of what the district finances are and some of the challenges or factors that affect the district. So just for edification on those or knowledge of those, the transmittal letter or letter of transmittal is pages 1 through 6 of the document. The MD&A or management discussion and analysis is pages 16 through 31. And notes to the financial statements are pages 43 through 67. Although the notes sometimes have a little bit of technical information in them, they are still, I think it still provides a good overview, hopefully in layman's terms, of what the district finances are about. So just a couple quick slides for the board's consideration. This is, as it says, comprehensive. So the audit deals with all of the funds that the district maintains. You'll see those funds listed here, 1 through 10, starting with the general fund being most important. I won't say most important, they are all important. It's the largest fund where the business of the district typically is conducted. So I'm not going to go through these one by one, but you can see that these are comparisons, excuse me, of performance in revenues, expenditures, and then what the reserve balance looks like in each one of those funds, each one maintained separately. The highlights there indicate the items that were outside of budget, whether it was favorable or unfavorable. I will say that these tolerances are very tight. To miss the budget, and when I say miss, that can be in a good way or a bad way. To be on either side, favorable, unfavorable in the budget, with these levels of tolerances is very good. So if we do miss, we want to miss on the good side, which typically we have done. The district did, not we as a department, but we as a district on the good side of things. Really, there's a couple items that I'll point out here. If you look at the building fund, line 4, if you go to the reserve balance on the far right, the beginning reserve balance was 0. That's because there was no activity in the building fund last year. This is where the dollars from the bond proceeds that were sold in January of 2019, referred to as the Series 2019 GO or General Obligation Bonds, that money came into the fund during the year. Some of that was spent, but that shows you what the balance is remaining in that particular fund for the end of the year. That's why there's zeros at the beginning, because there were no building activities that took place last year. We'll talk about the fund balances or the general fund balance, reserve balance in a second, but you can see that the difference in the first row, the $5.682 million, that is the addition to the reserve balance, or the increase in the reserve balance for the general fund that took place in the 18-19 fiscal year. That's not all available. Some of that is what we call restricted reserves, because there were items associated with the 2018 MLO that were budgeted, approved by the board, and started in the 18-19 year, but did not complete. So they will be carried forward. We call that carryover to the 19-20 year, when the budget essentially follows those items into the next year and they're available for expenditure. So some of that $5.7 million increase that you see in the general fund reserve balance is what we would call restricted. Really, we've talked about the other funds over time. The bond redemption fund on line 3 is where we service the debt on the 2 outstanding bond issuances that we have. So we will see some increases in that. Again, with servicing the debt for the bonds that were sold in 2019, the 1-year activity in that fund. Looking at then a 10-year history of the general fund reserve balance. This is what we've talked about in the past. You can see, looking at the years at the bottom, the first 3 or 4 years of this 10-year period, the general fund reserve balance bounced around a little bit, but we have been on a downward trend, very strategically, very consciously, bringing to the board and the board approving the spend down of reserves, the use of the district savings account, if you will. I'm proud to see, or happy to see, that the 2018-19 year shows then a reversal of that trend, with dollars being added back to the general fund balance. So those are really the only 2 slides that I have to present. There's a wealth of information in the report should you choose to review it. Again, we'll be coming back to the board with a finalized product that will be very, very close to the version that's posted as an in draft form for the board's consideration for adoption at the December 11th meeting.
Questions?
So again, special kudos to Gordon and the team. This is a Herculean effort. I mean, it is extraordinary the amount of time. And I'm an English major, so numbers are a challenge to me. But I can tell you that this has been an enormous lift and heavy labor, something that Gordon does each year and every year. It's big. And so I just want to acknowledge the work of Gordon and his team for this great job.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank
And
you.
team.
Team is the important part of that. I get the privilege of standing in front of the board and presenting a lot of the information that goes into this. Really, I have an oversight role. There's certainly portions of this that I prepare, but it is a all-consuming process for a couple months, really, for members of the team. So a great team that we have in place that puts in a lot of time and effort on this. So I will certainly pass along the board's thanks to them. It will mean a lot to them. Thank you.
So, Board, this will come back for approval next meeting, which is December 11th. In the meantime, if you guys read either the sections that Gordon called out or the whole thing and have questions in the meantime, are you open to that?
Certainly reach out to me, and I'll be glad to address those there. If you feel it's better done in the public setting, I'm glad to address them at the next meeting as well. But certainly reach out if you have questions
there'll be a
or
little time.
interpretations.
Yeah, there'll be time before the next meeting as well to,
Gordon,
for the final.
how do we thank the community members who are part of this team?
I can pass that along to them as well. I will be communicating with them. They will be coming before you. Part of the Audit Advisory Committee's responsibilities is to report to the board. So I will be soliciting a volunteer from that group to present at the December 11th meeting as well for their impressions or interpretations or thoughts about the process. A lot from the meeting that we had last night, but then any additional questions they may have that I will answer for them. But there will be a representative or two from that committee here at the December 11th meeting as well.
We'll look forward to thanking them in person then.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for what you've done to add the context and the narrative and to really highlight the things that need addressing and support, because you make a 163-page report really come to life, and I know that is not easy to do considering that we're talking about audits and numbers. So thank you for turning it into something that is meaningful in all the different ways that we need to know it.
Not sure I've ever heard come to life and numbers spoken in the same sentence, but thank you.
It's true you do, so.
And should the board be interested, every district in the state of Colorado is required to publish this report and post it on their website under the Financial Transparency Act of the state. So should you get tired of reading ours or have thoroughly digested Thompson's report, there's 177 others out there, should you care to compare ours to theirs.
Sure. Well, good. We have a long weekend next weekend.
Yep.
With the turkey, we'll be. Thanks.
Sleep even sooner.
That's right. Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have item 7.3, social and emotional learning update. Don Huckabee and team.
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. It's my pleasure to have Dr. Jennifer Gethels come and share with you the work that she and her team have done since hiring in July. As you recall, through some reorganization of staff at Learning Services, most of her team are existing people who were doing work under a multitude of directors. And so now she's going to share with us kind of what work has happened to date and what you can expect to see to come. It's Jennifer.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. I, by the way, will not attempt to tell you everything we've done since July. That might be a bit much, and I'm sure people don't want to stay that long because we do have a large team who've been working very, very hard. So I've tried to choose some highlights for you that'll give you a picture of the work we've been doing. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that the work that I'm going to highlight tonight connects to our Strive 2025 in these areas, 1.2, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. And a lot of the work we do really is in these areas, as well as connecting to our Portrait of a Graduate one of the things I find exciting about the Portage of a Graduate is it really ties very closely to social emotional learning. So we find a lot of connections there as well in our work in student success. So one of the things we've been working on is hiring. Thanks to you all, we have some temporary SEL FTE, and the committee that has been working on what happens with that FTE, we had not spent it all. And so I proposed to the committee that we create a new position of student success behavior TOSA that would provide general education behavior intervention support, helping our schools with functional behavior assessments, behavior plans, et cetera, at that tier 2 level, as opposed to where they've often lived, which is the more complex version of these, which is at the special education tier 3 level. So the group approved that idea, and we were able to find a wonderful person, Mike McGee, to join our student success team. Our intent is to hire 2 more if we can find them. But he got called out to a school the first day he was here, so we are already putting him to work. Another hiring success we'd like to share is, as you heard, I believe, in an earlier presentation this year, we were successful in getting a grant from the Larimer County Department of Health. We call it it's quite a mouthful, Universal Social Emotional Learning Project. And the grant includes a coordinator position as well as funding to pay our staff to attend PD after hours, so we're not having to pull them out of the classroom as much. So we found a wonderful person we stole from CDE, and you actually might know her if you've been around for a while because she used to be a counselor in our school district several years ago. Her name is Keely Guerin. So Keely is going to be joining us December 9th, and she'll be coordinating efforts to provide PD for staff and community related to suicide prevention, education, substance abuse prevention, mental health education, and community connections. Another project we've been working on is it's another mouthful for you, our Social Emotional Learning Partnership Team. This is a team that came through negotiations last year. We have 25 people who are on our team. Quite the variety of stakeholders. We had actually more than twice as many people as I was able to take apply to be on this team, which is a wonderful problem to have. I was not expecting that. So very hard to narrow it down to only 25. So that group includes licensed, classified, building administrators, people from central admin. 20 of our schools are represented. We have all 3 levels, plus early childhood. We have parents, we have foster parents. It's extremely varied group, very exciting. TEA is, of course, represented on that group as well. So we're going to do a lot of work. It's a multi-year project, but where we're starting is to create our Thompson value definition of SEL, Thompson School District definition of SEL as well as our value statements, and that's going to guide all of the work that our Social Emotional Learning Partnership Team is going to do. And the first project that they're going to do from that is to partner with our 1338 committee to create a school climate and culture survey that we will be delivering semi-annually, hopefully, if all of this comes together as we plan, to our staff, students, and parents and guardians. So to try to consolidate some of the other surveys that we've had, also some missing pieces of surveys around this area to really give us great data to drive our work. Another committee that we formed is our K-12 Counselor Design Committee. So this is a team of about 9 to 12, depending on the day, counselors from all of our levels, and they come together to both design and co-facilitate our K-12 monthly counselor meetings that we've added this year, as well as our counselors meet at their level groups on our late starts, one Wednesday a month. So they help plan all of that and then help co-facilitate that as it works out. In addition to that, we have our SEL specialists, which also come from that temporary FTE that you all approved. We wanted to make sure that they were well trained and supported in their work because we're asking a lot of them very, very quickly. So Haley Uphouse, our social emotional learning coordinator, provides semi-monthly meetings and trainings for them. We also have on our team Kathy Schlepp, our wellness coordinator. So she is heading up our K-12 Comprehensive Health Education Committee. That we're working on that with Shannon Clark's team as well. Kathy also heads up our District Wellness Advisory Committee, which is getting up and running very soon. And then Haley is also overseeing Thompson Cares. So those are just a few of the committees that we have on our team. a sampling of the trainings that our student success team members have offered in the last couple of months. So Haley developed a Tier 2 functional behavior assessment and behavior plan for general education training to roll out to all of our administrators, counselors, as well as a whole bunch of other stakeholders in the district to try and help people be able to do that on their own without having to always call in a specialist. We also are doing our Happy Teacher Revolution work, which is around self-care and wellness for our staff. Signs of suicide training for our middle school students and high school students. Restorative Practices 101, as well as partnering with Theo to roll out Restorative Practices, a 6-hour training to all of our middle level and high school level administrators, and we actually are going to invite our elementary to that, principals to that as well. Trauma-informed teaching, bullying prevention best practice work, foundations of PBIS, in particular with our secondary folks, partnering with security and safety around threat assessment training. Of course, our new suicide risk assessment that we rolled out this year, we've been doing a lot of training around that, had another training on that today. And then our project to create a K-12 behavior referral tool that will live in Infinite Campus for everybody to use the same behavior referral tool so we can actually have data to look at across the entire district. So we have several schools who are piloting that for us, and then we're going to come together after the winter break to talk about how that's been going and what it will look like to roll it out to everybody next school year. We also have been working on a number of partnerships. I realize the formatting on this slide makes it look like all of these have memorandums of understanding. That's not true. It's actually just the first bullet point on there, so I apologize for that. So worked with Summit Stone, Heart-Centered Counseling, Turning Point, and several other local groups that offer licensed therapy to have them be able to deliver those services during the school day if parents and guardians want that. So we're not hiring them, the parents and guardians are, but we've gone into a partnership with them so that if the only time their child can access those services happens to be during their study hall, 7th period on a Thursday, that we will allow that to happen in our schools. Very excited about that work. If any of you have children who are trying to access therapy, you know that it is very, very difficult to get that to occur only outside of school hours. Everybody wants that, right? So to be able to provide greater access to high-quality mental health support is very important to our students. So we also have partnerships with Hearts and Horses, Campus Connections, SAVA, Alliance for Suicide Prevention, Lamar County Grand Families Coalition, Heather Forbes, the Beyond Consequences Institute down in Boulder, and Alternatives to Violence. And then a few things that are coming up. We've been doing a lot of work around our Atlas middle school and elementary programs. We've totally revamped those programs. Those are programs that are general education intervention for students struggling with severe behavior needs. Very excited that we actually finally filled all of the middle school positions for that program. So it is now officially open for business. They've been doing a lot of other things, don't worry. They've been extremely busy. But as far as being able to accept new students into Atlas, we are announcing that to middle school principals tomorrow, that we are ready to do that. So that's big news for us. Obviously, tomorrow I'll be spending a great deal of time with you as well to go over our CASEL audit recommendations, so we'll be analyzing and implementing that work. We are continuing to look at attendance policy and truancy prevention. We are working on a project to bring forth to you, potentially, an animal-assisted therapy policy. We are in regular collaboration with safety and security. Working on suspension and expulsion reduction and deferred expulsion. And this is really exciting. For the first time in partnership with HR as well as the PLT team, we are offering induction for our new school counselors and SEL specialists that's particular to them and not part of the greater teacher induction. We actually had, we've had a couple of informal meetings, but our first formal induction meeting with them was this week, and it went great. So our counselor liaisons are helping run that so that the experts in our district are helping teach the new counselors and SEL specialists in our district. So those are the highlights that I have for you tonight. Are there any questions?
Oh, you've been busy. Congratulations on getting so much covered. Since,
I talked really, really fast.
Well, but you've accomplished so much since
apologize for
July.
that.
Is that when you were on board? It was July. Yeah. So amazing.
Had any part of the program been in existence before you arrived?
So many of the team was in other places in our district. We became our own department this July, and then several, like the Haley's position, the SEL coordinator and whatnot, those are new positions. So some of this work is a continuation of work that was begun, and some of it's brand new.
Some coordination to it all now, which is really, really important.
And exciting.
Great presentation. Thank you for all the information. Couple of questions. So can you describe briefly the capacity of our Atlas program as we're rolling it out? What does that capacity look like?
Yeah, so I think that our intention is that the elementary program would hold 6 to 8 students at a time, as well as the middle school would hold an additional 6 to 8 students. The program, if it goes as designed, students would only spend 6 to 9 weeks there and then begin the transition process back to their home school. So we would see more students over a year, but at each time we would try to keep it to no more than 8 students so that we can really work closely with them.
And so then that Atlas program is located in a single location in our district?
So we have the elementary program is at Edmondson, and the middle school program is at Con Ball.
Cool. And then the second question that I had is, could you describe briefly what it looks like when one of our TOSAs goes into a school?
Yeah, so the student success behavior TOSA that I was referring to, yeah. So what Mike would do, for instance, is he might get a call that there is a student who has been struggling with some behaviors that are very disruptive, and the school feels like they've tried everything they know how to do, and we're just not making the progress that we would hope for, right? So then Mike would go in and he would listen to the team. Then he would go in and do observations of the student in various places in the school so that he has firsthand knowledge of what's going on. Then continue to meet with the team, including parents and guardians, to talk about what are the behaviors that are really getting the student off track, the target behaviors, and what would be the replacement behaviors that we want to teach the student, and how are we going to create a plan to teach the student those replacement behaviors and support the staff and the students while they learn those behaviors, because of course it's not going to happen overnight. Some of those plans could also include, for instance, a crisis plan for really significant behavior of how would we respond if it gets to that level. So he would help build out all levels of those plans. He also may come in and say, we've done this work, we might need to bring in special education to have a different look at this. So it can go a number of directions.
Excellent. Thank you. That was really helpful. Appreciate it.
So busy praising staff this evening. So Dr. Guthels, as you know, brand new to our district, extraordinary, how she's hit the ground running, super talented individual. There's so much work in our district, so much great work. I think we're very, very excited about the Castle report that you're going to receive, which will provide not only things that we're doing really well as a district, but more importantly, what are our opportunities, what are our next steps. Social emotional learning is critical to the success of our students in the district. It's a cornerstone of our strategic plan. Jennifer has just done an amazing job, so really proud of you and the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I want to say thank you. This is fantastic, and the fact that it is just a summary and you talked fast is amazing. And you said thank you for this work getting approved, and so I just want to echo that back. That I really appreciate that we've gotten all this great support. We've gotten this great support for the community to fill this need, and that's part of this, right? Is this is a system-wide thing. This is about the whole child, or everything. And I just really love that you've touched on all of that in such a short amount of time, and really done an amazing amount of work. So thank you.
Thank you. I would add to that people are constantly asking me, what do you think of this job? Are you glad you came? Versions of that. And I will say to that, what's so amazing about the work that Thompson wants to do around social emotional learning and mental health is that it is not being done to anyone here. That the staff and the students and the parents and the board and the whole community wants this work done. And so to be invited to help bring that about is an incredible thing to be part of. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
You bet. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have 7.4 PK8 boundary presentation. Todd Piccone.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, and Dr. Schaefer, Todd Piccone, Chief Operations Officer. Tonight for discussion is the new PK8 boundary. I will say in alignment with Strive 2025, it is item 2.3, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. But I would like to highlight that really item 2.3 is particular focus in this item, really to ensure all stakeholders are engaged in effective two-way communication through a wide variety of strategies. With the opening of the new PK8 in 2021, staff has studied possible options for boundary solutions. So the timeline for this tonight is just a brief introduction for the options. Really, the meat of the work comes in January and February when we'll be holding community meetings. So tonight's an introduction of what we've looked at. We will then survey the community in January, February, and then in March, we will come back with those comments and then some recommendations and hope for approval from you April of 2020. So the following three options, we've reviewed, analyzed for possible boundary solutions and the effect of each on other boundary schools. So I'm going to invite Skip up to talk about the different options that we've looked at, and then we'll wrap up with some questions.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, members of the board. I'm Skip Armatoski, the district's planning manager. We actually started looking at these boundaries back when we first thought about doing the school. So a lot of work has gone into this, and the result is what you're going to see tonight. These are by no means the only options we looked at, but like most boundary questions, most of them were able to just throw away. We started off with the one that we've kind of worked with since day one. We've called it our working boundary. This was the intent to have something where we could do all the projections and all the scenarios constant throughout the process. So that's what this is. It's just basically the working boundary. It would be everything east of I-25, all the K-8 students. You can see the numbers there for our projections, and these are resident students. We can't do enrollment projections because there's nobody enrolled at the school, so we have nothing to work with as far as setting a statistical trend line other than residents.
How far north does this go?
This goes to the end of the district.
Which is?
One house past Dr. Shear's house.
Okay, I know where you are then.
That line up there, you see where I-25 is, and then when you look to the right, there's one street going north to south, and then there's a cluster of streets. That line pretty well much runs through the clubhouse at Highland Meadows, if that gives you a good reference point.
Crossroads?
I'm sorry?
Is it the street that's called Crossroads?
No, it's
Further north than that?
Further north than that.
Okay, then I just needed a feel.
What's the southern tip, southern end?
I don't know that there's a street.
Johnstown's district then?
It's down
Okay.
in Johnstown.
Okay, so it's
and
Johnstown, Milliken District boundary?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, our projected capacity is 1,000. And so what we've done is put the high projection, the low projection, and the middle projection there, just to get an idea of how soon we could expect the school to fill up.
That little schoolhouse represents the new school, correct?
Ma'am.
Okay.
It'll be.
Map challenged.
Okay, the effect that that boundary would have on High Plains, because we're walking a tightrope here between utilizing the new school, not negatively impacting the other school, and here we're trying to provide some relief to High Plains. So what we're going to be looking at is each of the three boundary options and then what impact that has on High Plains. So the original boundary would cut High Plains boundary down to everything west of I-25 as continuing as a PK8 with a capacity of 550. You can see that it's not going to be too long before we're right back where we are now. Forestalling the question, we do not account for modulars in capacity. Only brick and mortar additions to a building will add to the capacity. So this does not take into account the modulars that are being placed out there. Next option was to use the working boundary for all K-8 students and then take the 6-8 students, the middle school students from High Plains, which would then result in High Plains having a reduced boundary and a reduced program to K-5. And you can see the numbers there with a capacity of 1,000 by 2024, we're looking at being full. Does, however, provide some relief for High Plains. Once again, the capacity is 550, and in 2 of the projection lines, we don't get there within the next 5 years. Our third option, everything south of 34 and east of I-25 that is K-5 would go to the new school, and then all of the 6-8 from what is currently High Plains area would go to the new school. And you see the numbers there come out pretty well much the same. We're dealing with all the same amount of students. It's just which different set we're working with. And the effect on High Plains, once again, capacity of 550.
The last slide here, as you can see in all the options, there is no solution for the, there is a solution in the next, year to 4 to 3 to 5 years, depending on the option. But looking past that, there is a challenge for capacity in that area. So just want to note that we are looking at solutions. The master plan committee, and I think tomorrow night we're going to review the long-range master plan. We are looking at different options to help alleviate some of this capacity issues. So one option in there is to build a new PK5 in the northeast corner of the district. Look at a new middle school, which we have a site by Mountain View High School, and then also options to add capacity to High Plains. Not that that's all the solutions or all the options, but that those have been identified to help the capacity issues in the next, I would say, 5 then to 7 years. So from there, is there any questions tonight?
So board, just keep in mind that at this point, this is the first presentation of this to us. The major part, as Todd pointed out, is when it's going to go out to the community and presentation to the community, get feedback from the community, and then, obviously there'll be more discussions after that.
Correct. We're going to do a probably 2 to 3 different community forums to where we'll have different options for everyone to come in, give feedback, write down their feedback, and we'll record all that and then report back to the board what we find. It'll be a similar process to when we looked at changing the Loveland High, or when we did change the Loveland High and Thompson Valley boundary. That type of open forum to where people feel comfortable, they can come in and really share some ideas. I talked to the High Plains SAC here a couple weeks ago, and also communicated that to as well, that that's the process moving forward. And that was really what everyone is concerned about, is making sure their voice is heard, so that's what we're committing to.
I do have a question, Todd. We have a captive audience with the High Plains community because we can reach those parents, right? How are we going to make sure that when we do the community forum out there that we're hearing from the people that need to be heard from?
What we might do is similar to what we did to the CTE, is physically go door to door, hand out flyers. Mike's team will do a great job communicating out. But I do know for like the CTE, when we had community forums out there, we did go door to door and put flyers.
Flyers on the doors.
That is an option, especially for that area right around High Plains.
Because I know it's, anytime you do something with boundaries, people are really interested in it, but we want them to be interested in it when they can talk to us about it, not afterwards.
Right, we want their voice now rather
Right,
than when we come
right.
in March and April.
Right.
Yeah.
My experience will be if they know that it's happening, they'll be there.
Yeah, but the trick is to make sure that they know
There's
it's
interest,
happening.
yes.
Because it's quite the group.
Yes.
They're very involved, yeah.
Dr. Schaefer?
We've reached out also to the city government of Johnstown, so I know Todd and I have an upcoming breakfast with the mayor, as well as other city officials, just to meet with them and kind of hear from them as well.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Skip. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
You.
And we have, last up tonight is 7.5 bond update presentation, Todd and Tammy.
Yes, thank you again, and I'm going to turn this right over to Tammy. She's been anxiously waiting here this last couple hours, so here she goes.
You get cleanup tonight because we let Gordon go early. See, there you go.
That's
So
right.
you're back cleanup.
Thank you. Thank you, Board of Education, Madam President, Dr. Schaefer, for the chance to be in front of you again and give you another update on how the bond's been going and the work we've done this summer. Do I run this myself? I'll try it. We'll see what happens. So typically, I will give the bond expenditure update and then budget by feeder, and then the project update by feeder. This time we also included a lot of information, as you've seen on the slides, listing a lot of the work that's been done at every school, because sometimes dollars mean one thing, but actually seeing the list of the work at every school really helps explain what we're doing. So the total bond expenditures summary there, I can say that every feeder system, including the district-wide line item, increased over the last, 2-3 months. Last update was in August. Roughly $7 million. There was $14 million encumbered last update. We've also added the note there that says which bond premiums have been added to the budgets now. Include the CTE, which is now the TCC program in Ferguson High School. The early childhood program has been in the premium for the last 6 months. We've added Ray-Pat Field out of the bond premium and the contingency. So that's $5.5 in contingency and $900,000 for Ray-Pat Field. The other premium items will be added over time here too as we start looking at how to split things up, such as the secure entries for the high schools. Those 4 will get that $1.2 million. The FF&E effort will also be divvied up pretty quick. We're going very quickly with our design team for that project, with another showcase coming up the end of January. So it'll be a 2-day showcase. We're looking for a location now, and we'll work with communications to get that word out again too.
Tammy, can you share with us what FF&E, just for those members that may not know?
Sure, sorry. Fixtures, furniture, and equipment. If you think of turning a building upside down, it's the things that would fall out. So that's what the bond premium covered, that you guys graciously approved the use of to replenish across the district. Every school will get a certain amount for replenishing some furniture in their buildings.
Tammy, what is DW?
Sorry, sure, that is district-wide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll show in the
Trying to
last
think
slide.
of a high school that was DW
Right,
that
right.
had elementaries feeding into it. Thank you.
Sure, it covers a lot of miscellaneous, so
Yeah.
we'll cover at the end too.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I forget sometimes to be more explanatory. Over the next 3 to 4 months, I'm expecting roughly $70 million in encumbrance. That will cover the 2020 roofing projects that are left, the budget that you approved earlier for CTE tonight, and then the $30 million in the other budgets that you also approved tonight. That was a pretty lengthy list. Those will be encumbered over the next 6 months to a year, but those will come up. It'll make finance happy. We are on track with those planned budgets encumbrances to meet the requirements for the 3-year expenditures of 80% or 85%. Oh, 85%. Okay, we'll be right there. It'll be great. So the next slide, the Berthoud High School feeder. All 4 of those projects did increase. Like I said, all of the feeders increased over the last couple months. All 4 projects are also going to see work in 2020. We're already seeing the advantages of having the feeder design team on board already. because they're also looking at, we'll see a little bit later, but they're looking at some of the projects in 2023. 22 and 21 are actually being moved up, maybe just pieces, field work at one high school versus the whole renovation, those kinds of things. So we're seeing some benefits to that already. Oh, Berthoud High School, the list of work that's been done. A lot of the new encumbrances over the last couple months are door hardware has continued. We've purchased more custodial equipment. And then you'll see, like under the Berthoud Elementary School and Ivy, we've done the geotech and survey. We've also encumbered those contracts for design. So that's where a lot of the encumbrances went for that feeder system.
That's a mini split.
Mini split is a mechanical unit that cools a certain area. I think facilities is using those for some of the IT rooms that needed cooled. Thank you.
Tammy, has your team done meetings at the other locations in addition to Berthoud High School explaining what's going on in that particular feeder system with Cunningham present and so on? Are you doing that at all of the feeder schools or somewhere in the feeders?
Yes, sir. Every project for 2020 has a design advisory group, and we've also held the 4 community meetings already this fall. So our plan on that is every fall meet with those 4 feeder groups and hit every project in that feeder with the community that shows up. So a lot of input. I think we're on DAG, the Design Advisory Group meeting. I think we're on number 2 and 3 already for some of those 2020 projects, hoping to report back right after the holidays with where all their input took us and where our construction documents are.
The session you did at Berthoud High was excellent, and there were a number of questions, and I think the people who were there left feeling like they knew a whole lot more than when they got there, so good job on that.
Great. Thank you. And part of that, too, is we try to put the word out that we've had anywhere from 4 people to 15 at those community meetings. And we try to distribute our cards, make it very welcoming to either go to our website or call or come in person if they have more questions. Sometimes you don't have the questions right there while you're being told a lot of information. So we have had a few follow-up emails and phone calls, very high-level questions, but it's been great to have that rapport. So out of the Thompson Valley feeder system, 4 of the projects are in 2020. Thompson Valley High School is a 2-year program, but again, we're looking at what we can do earlier in the first year of that program. So there again is a pretty hefty list of projects. I want to kind of point out, like Walt Clark Middle School, there's the Sierra School, and then at Thompson Valley High School, ILLC program. Those aren't fully funded by the bond, but I wanted to make it clear that we work in concert with facilities on a daily basis, and we help manage projects like that. We use the expertise and the team that we have on board for the bond, and luckily the district was able to hire the project managers that have that experience to help facilities manage some of those projects too, and they get a little complicated, time sensitive. The High Plains Modulars, finishing that up, we teamed up with Kristen Batigi and her team and pulled that together. So we try to use our resources across the board. We're not just relegated to just the bond. So I think the district gets the benefit of that. The Mountain View High School feeder. Again, the big encumbrances that will be coming up is that new pre-K-8. We also have phase 2 of the Stansbury Elementary renovation to the early childhood. We'll be having the GMP for that here towards the end of the year, maybe early January. So again, all the encumbrances are coming in right as scheduled. We'll catch back up where it's felt kind of like a lull here for a little bit. We'll make sure finance is happy with where we're going with that, and we can be in good shape. And there's a long list at Mountain View High School feeder. Some of the projects, again, moved up or around in the overall schedule. Winona is being looked at a little bit differently, and the rest are right on track. Again, Monroe, you'll see survey and geotech. That's all in planning for the design and for the major work of that project. Loveland High School feeder, it increased about $500,000 since August. Seems a little bit slower, but again, we've got, I believe, 4 of the projects are in 2020. So a lot of them that you approved tonight. So again, those encumbrances will really start rolling in here in the next 3 to 4 months. There's a bigger feeder. The list just keeps getting longer. A lot of it's repeat. You'll see the door hardware, custodial equipment, HVAC mini splits, playground servicing. A lot of those little projects have been done too separately from the major renovations. So we're working to update the website and the signs in each school with big green check marks, and we're going to start putting the dates on there. So a lot of them will show that, you know, if it was scheduled for 2021, but we were able to get the roofing done sooner, or the playground equipment, it'll start showing everywhere we're trying to communicate that we are actually ahead on some things. So I think that'll be a good feeling overall too. The district-wide summary went up about $4 million since August. A lot of that is the security. We did encumber that contract. That became a fast-track project pretty quickly this year. On that note, that team is working in the schools between 5 a.m. and 11 at night. They're working a lot of weekends. They're making every effort to stay on that schedule to be substantially complete by January. The only projects that might be a little behind that are administrative buildings, but they'll follow right behind that, if not in January. The other piece has been updated too is the bond management. As you see, that's for salary, vehicles, supplies, equipment. Most of that increase over the last couple months is salary and equipment, basic office supplies, that kind of thing, computers, things we need to manage the projects. Now to the fun stuff, unless you have questions right away on the budget and financial information. Okay. You have one? Sure. Mark.
I'm curious more if you can provide a little more information about what the HVAC mini splits are, and why are we seeing those in some buildings but not others? How is the determination made as to where those need to get plugged in?
I defer to Matt. Sure.
So we've been working with Matt. Really, it's the MDF, the high priority MDFs that did not have air conditioning. We worked those pulled them out of the schedule and just worked the particular schools that needed those right away. It was really the MDFs that were overheating that needed that air conditioning sooner, so we didn't have any lapse in the internet in the buildings.
Okay, so this is a part of giving us reliable internet, and also actually lengthening the lifespan of our technical hardware.
Yeah, now the servers are running within their temperature specs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Unintended.
Okay, so to the pictures. First off, I want to say I'm excited, so is my team, there for the tour that we'll be taking on December 11th at 3:30 of the the TCC program in Ferguson High School. We'll see the pictures here later. I'm sure you've all looked ahead and seen the demolition and what's going on there, but it'll be fun to actually walk you guys through it. The kids did a great job at the groundbreaking there in the middle picture. That's the culinary program. And I think most of the food was gone by the end of the event.
They did a great job.
Yeah. So there it is, the Thompson Career Campus in Ferguson High School. I thought I'd show that just being somewhat of a before and after picture, or I should say before and during. So you can see just since October, they've peeled away the front, the concrete. They're working on the front windows and facade. And we'll be done with abatement at that project next week, and all the final air quality tests will be taken and hopefully approved so the rebuild can start. Didn't drive by and to see the demolition. It's kind of neat to see the big pile there, and it gets you excited. Your juice is flowing a little bit when you know what's coming, so we can start coming back up out of the ground as foundations and foundation walls are poured. And there we are in the inside with our fearless leader, Todd Piccone, down there in the center, and project manager, Zach Chambers. A lot of those ceilings behind Todd and Zach there will be exposed. It'll be a neat feeling in that, and that area right there is the beginning of the Ferguson High School wing. Moving on to the new pre-K-8. These are just some new elevations since the last time we showed you guys during the work session and during the architects update a few meetings ago too. The colors have come around a little bit. We're using more of the red brick and the tan brick. We received comments at the community meeting last week that they like that it's softened. a little bit on the outside and very welcoming. They felt like this was fun and yet not over the top. So I think we accomplished some of those comments that we had heard before, that the bright colors, primary colors, would be a little bit standoffish. So the community seems to feel like we're nailing it as we go. This is the north elevation along the main street where most of the traffic will come in to the parking lot on the east side. We've got a lot of daylighting in the classrooms. We are doing daylighting studies so that we can document how much of the buildings are daylit, so how many rooms will get sun and that passive connectivity to the outside for the students. This is where it gets really fun. When we always use, brain-based learning, that kind of thing, as some guiding philosophies as we design, but we've been challenged very directly from the board, which is great, to incorporate it even more and to really put our thinking caps on, and how can we make these schools really something, or this school that makes kiddos want to go around that next corner and see what's going on. This is might be hard to understand, but across the top is a view, looking down, a plan view of the main hallway that runs through the whole spine of the building, and they're replicating the mountain range, the Front Range mountain range. And as you can see on the bottom left, that exploded view is every peak will be labeled. So the kiddos, as if they were standing in the hallway and able to look through the building, you'd be looking at the mountain range right there and able to look down and see what's going on. We're working in, that's a picture in the middle there of a door swing and showing angles of a door potentially. We have some ideas next to that to the right of exposed systems, both in the floor, walls, and we're also looking at ceiling opportunities, certain areas and then throughout the building. How can we, again, make it available for the principal, Mr. Bowles, and his team to use the building as a teaching tool. And on the right there, there's our fearless leader, Rick, doing our virtual reality tour through the school. On the last slide of this presentation are the 2 links to the interior and exterior tours. So they're YouTube videos, and they're really neat to be able to get a better feel for what's going on in the design. And the virtual tour was at the community meeting. So we did have 1 or 2 community members try it too, and they thought it was pretty neat to walk through that. Interior is coming along also. You can see on the bottom left kind of what the floor might look like with those mountain peaks showing and the peaks called out. The furniture, again, is just a stab at some collaborative furniture that'll be defined later. The colors and the openness is what we're trying to show here. I think that's evolved fairly well. And using certain colors to make sure we're hitting on those brain-based and neuroscience of how to encourage learning and growth and be a comfortable space for kiddos. Common area is becoming a really neat space. We've added some plants. We don't know fake or real plants at this point. We're doing some neat things on the front of those learning stairs. The feeling right now is that it might be the layers of the earth so that the kids can look at that and maybe put that into their studies. And then a lot of the glass, as you see in the bottom left picture. Softer colors, some greens and blues. How do you make it kind of feel natural inside? Although you're inside all day, how can you make it feel good to be in there? Gymnasium, the colors were liking the blue and the active zone there. My note there, I just wanted to make it clear that we are having a committee get together here from here out to do studies on those graphics throughout the building. And once Mr. Bowles gets the mascot and colors and the name of the school this spring, that'll really help us start narrowing down colors, and things might change a little bit here and there, but we're just representing a lot of the areas in the school where there will be different graphics. And on to the security project that's ongoing through January. Like I said, they're working a lot of hours, a lot of time to get these done. We've worked in 17 elementary schools, and work has started in all 4 high schools. And we are on schedule for substantial completion in January. In those pictures, the left one is just showing the conduit running down the left side of the door and to the door that allows power to go to those panics so that when your access card reads, the panic opens. And then the middle is a server. And on the right is a camera on the outside of the building at Centennial there. So just a representation of some of the work. A summary of the meetings we've had since August, community meetings we've talked about. We had all 4 feeder system meetings where we hit on every school in that feeder that's happening next year. So take Berthoud, for example. Turner's not being worked on too much this year. We had that meeting. We talked about all 4 schools in that feeder. Next fall, we'll have that meeting again and talk about what work in those projects is going to happen in 2021. So that'll just be a continuing effort that we'll do. And then every DAG meeting has been held for 2020, as Stu had asked earlier, too. 2020 projects, we have 11 plus or minus roofs to be repaired or replaced, and we're defining that scope now with the consultants. Those contracts will probably come before you in the beginning of January at this point. We have renovation and bond work at 8 elementary schools and 3 high schools. And then the continued bond work, the big projects, like I touched on earlier, the early childhood at Stansbury, we'll have phase 2 of that beginning in full force here in the next month or so. We just received the GMP estimate today, so we'll be reviewing that as a team on Friday. The TCC in Ferguson High School, thank you for approving the GMP tonight, so we will continue with that project in phase 2 to open in August. And then the pre-K, that's going to be the next big GMP that comes in, and hopefully we'll actually break ground out there and start construction in February or March, but definitely the groundbreaking on March 9th will be a big opportunity to invite community and staff and students to come out and see what's going on for that.
I think this is the first time we've actually publicly announced. So March 9th is the groundbreaking for the new pre-K-8. We'll send you all a calendar invite, but for those for our viewing audience, March 9th is our groundbreaking. Although actually the groundbreaking will happen before that, but the ceremony is going to be March 9th. Is that right?
Oh, that's the end. The thank you voters symbol there, that's the banner that you'll see being presented at every school that has work going on next spring. So we'll start hanging those banners around, making sure we thank the voters and make it clear that work has started in those schools. There's the tour connections or links there at the bottom for the pre-K-8. And then just thank you, the principals and site staff have been amazing. The principals were responsible for pulling the DAG committees together. So they really did a lot of research trying to get their SAC members and parents and staff involved and wanting to be on those. And they've been just a lot of fun this time around. I think everyone's kind of relaxing and kind of having some fun with what we can do with improving the learning environments, the furniture aspects, and then some of the visual things that we can see so the schools feel like they've been refreshed. So thank you for your time and the support.
Tammy, when do you intend to start putting the check marks in front of the finished projects on the school signs?
I'm going there on the way home. I'm going to start putting.
You're going to do it tonight, huh?
Yes.
Sharpie.
Yeah. No, it's funny you asked, but we actually did just receive all the stickers from the company that made them for a Speed Pro, I believe, on Friday. So we're getting a plan together. So we'll do some photo ops with principals and make sure it's a fun thing to put those up on the exterior signs. We'll also be putting them inside on those poster boards too. So I would imagine, if not before Thanksgiving at this point, in December for sure.
That's a great way to let the community know that their tax dollars not only were appropriated, but projects have actually been completed. So good job on thinking about that. I've just wondered where you were in that process.
That's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you how much I'm geeking out over the really cool things that you guys are doing with the design, and so many of the things could easily be applied at other campuses. You know, I'm assuming the stickers for the door thing is actually probably something that would not be cost prohibitive compared to some of those other things you showed us that are much easier to do with new construction. And I just think, that's exactly the kind of place I want to go and just be. And so kudos to the team for doing such a great job looking at all kinds of things. I mean, I know that you've had a lot of heavy duty work that you've had to do with those things, but it looks like you also just did a great job having fun and making it a fun place that our kids want to be, which is a big deal. So thank you.
Thank you, and I think the intent of all these new projects coming up is always great, and the bond allows the opportunity to think that way. But I know Todd and Kristen and I, our intent is to update the tech specs and update our approach as a district, from the furniture to buildings that teach, and brain-based learning, and making sure we do that across the board. It shouldn't just be new schools, and we want to apply those principles throughout. So that's our goal.
On the other side of that too, I just love seeing the list of the things that we're doing, because we have these amazing historic buildings in our district, and the new school is such a fantastic hybrid between, you know, the schools we see that are 100 plus years old and some of the really new ones that we have in the district. This is kind of this cool mix, and so I'm glad that the community is saying how much they appreciate that. You know, they think that that is a great look, and I think it's also fantastic to see that we are, you know, making all of our environments safer, because there's a lot of really important work on this list too. And so it is really nice to see that we're doing things for every student in every school in some way. So thanks for doing that too. And thanks to the community.
Any other questions for Tammy? Todd? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. There is a written report attached for the Family PIE, which is the early childhood education, early childhood policy council report there. Reminder that our next meeting's tomorrow at 5 back in there. So that, and I sent all of you guys an email with the list of the committee. So we'll be taking about 10, 15 minutes to talk about it at the end of tomorrow. So if you're on a committee and you want to stay on a committee, fine and dandy. If you want to switch committees, you know, we can talk about that too. So, and there'll be obviously some openings for the new folks. And then just a reminder, thinking further ahead, because December gets weird. December 4th through December 8th is the Colorado Association of School Boards meeting. So we won't have our Wednesday meeting here then. We will be down in Colorado Springs. So our next regular meeting here will be on December 11th. And we only have one business meeting scheduled in December. So you guys have a free time. All of you people that tune in, you can watch something else on your Wednesday nights. So anything else? Questions?
Future agenda items.
Future agenda items, yep.
I was going to throw a list out there, knowing it's going to take some time, but just get it on our radar with new board members and everything else, and still figuring out how we actually get it on the agenda. But just, so it's a long list, but just to get them on our radar. And I see these more as discussion items than necessarily presentations, but areas of interest to me is discussing our graduate profile. And I'll email these to you, Lori, too. Just
okay.
Equity and access update. Love to hear what we're doing with that. Negotiations are right around the corner. So what kind of negotiations preparation are we going to do? Discussion around board involvement in the budgeting process and just maybe some different ideas of how to do that. Hearing different things about dual language programs. Love to have a conversation around that. In our new induction programs. And the last one I have is just kind of an update on our special ed, that I know there continues to be challenges with that and student performance, and just kind of get an update with that. So I'll email those to you, but start getting them on our radar.
All right. I think some of these are, I know negotiations is on the agenda, so that'll be worked in, yeah. All right. Anything else? Hearing nothing, I will call us adjourned. Thank you.